Well, it is that time again. One of my favorite times of the week. It would be within at least the top 20, 30 of my favorite times a week. And that is when Brian White of My Tesla Weekend joins us to discuss the very biggest events ever. And that's what we're going to do today, Brian.
I can't believe it. I will believe it when it happens. Let's see how it goes.
All right. Well, we are going to be talking about, literally, you know some history. I know some history. My wife is actually, an English lit professor. She knows a lot of history. We cannot, for the life of us, come up with an event in history that compares to the Tesla Optimus bot. There's just nothing that will have a greater impact, nothing that will change lives more, nothing that will create more financial impact. Your thoughts?
Uh, it could, but it's too early to know when it will happen. Obviously, this is going to happen. And like anything, like autonomy, like self-driving cars is going to happen. But there are people who say it'll happen in a few months and people who say it'll happen in 100 years. Worth noting, the New York Times ran an op-ed saying powered human flight is at least, and I don't remember if he said 1,000 years away or 1,000,000 years away. And that was about 3 months before the Wright brothers' first powered flight. So they were, and this was, I assume, someone with the kind of reputation that would allow them to get a column in New York Times. This
In
is a
those
big
days when they
thinker.
cared.
He's a big thinker, but I mean, to put something out that far is bonkers. Are you not aware of the Industrial Revolution? But the answer is no. He wasn't really aware of the Industrial Revolution. He hadn't seen what some others see. If it's very hard to understand, the question I always see is how come everyone says the bot can do chores? Why don't they recognize all these other things, all these other applications? And it's because we only see our own worlds.
Sure.
And that's the problem with the disruption of AI generally, is it's easy to understand that AI can make pictures, that it can answer questions. That's our world. We can't see all the other things because they're, too foreign of concepts for us. Things like they trained a large language model on proteins. Here's a bunch of words, and they're just letters that equal a protein. And then they asked it, could you make some new ones? And it said, oh, sure. And it spat out some new ones, and they tested them. And some of those are actually proteins, undiscovered proteins, because there's a language there. We just can't see it. So why are people not understanding bot? Because it's a little too outside of our human sphere of understanding. My mother was the first woman in her lineage to drive.
Yes.
And my grandparents, my grandfathers were all the first men, the first anyone in my entire family lineage to drive. Looking back 100 or 1,000 or 100,000 years from now, that brief window when humans drove cars should look like a novelty. And I hope so, because we're very bad at
it. Right. Actually, I've often thought we're shockingly good at it. On the one hand, you could say, look at all the accidents, look at all the people that are die each year. But on the other hand, we have 4,000 or 5,000 pound and even heavier vehicles flying down the freeway at various speeds from 30 to 100, and motorcycles in between them. And somehow we avoid hitting each other most of the time. That's kind of a miracle in itself.
Just looking at the way humans navigate by foot, look at a busy all directions go crosswalk, and you'll see hundreds of people moving through each other with very few connections, with very little unintentional touching.
Right.
there might be a pickpocket or two in there, but that's navigating space in 2 dimensions like that, I guess 3, but whatever, is something we're very good at.
Yeah.
There are other things we're not, and spotting disruption is one of them.
There you go. So we are in this period of time where I'm just going to make the statement, and I don't care whether you agree with me or not. This is going to be the largest. Well, okay, let's take a look. Elon Musk says that the TAM on this is at least 16 billion, two per every human. Well, there hasn't been any product in history that was so huge that it would produce a need for 16 billion units. Then we've got Brett Adcock of Figure Robotics over the weekend stating that it is the largest TAM he's ever, he can't even predict or project how many of these there will be, but that these humanoid robots will be able to do anything that a human could do. Now, that might have been a stretch, but I think he meant in terms of work as opposed to being as funny as you, for instance.
Oh, Lord. I've seen the AI attempts at humor, and it's reasonable to assume my job is safe for a little bit longer. The
I,
addressable market, I would agree, is unknowable in scale. Two per human could be too high. It could be too low. We don't know yet. There are a lot of jobs it can do that humans can't. Anything that's extremely dangerous or even really modestly dangerous, those are difficult jobs. And a lot of them simply don't get done. Cleaning up hazardous waste or biohazard material is something, if you wanted to hire me to clean up all the needles that are discarded on the side of the road
yeah.
in scary places, there's just not an amount of money that would make me do it.
Yes, yes. So there are millions of jobs that are boring or repetitive or are dangerous, are in frigid temperatures, are in undersea situations where you can't take the pressure, in deep ocean situations. We could go on and on and on with the potential for things that humans can't or won't or don't want to do. But just in terms of replacing the work that laborers do, that's another massive number of units. Anyway, we've got a very, very big product here, a very big deal, and we're close. So over the last 2 weeks, there's been, I don't know, dozens at least of videos produced by people on YouTube and hundreds of comments on X about where we really are in this revolution or something. And I'm the optimist. I believe that these bots are already working in factories, and in fact, some pre-humanoids are already working in factories. We know that. Some that are kind of human-like in that they have arms and a torso, but their legs don't look like real human legs. And then we've got Brett Adcock saying that he's looking at later this year. We've got Tesla saying that they would have bots in factories this year, but that could be 12, it could be 20, it could be 100, it could be more. So where do you come out on all of that? Where do you think we are generally? Where do you think, who do you think's ahead? Who do you think's behind?
Well,
Yeah.
there are too many small companies to adequately address them all. I will say a lot of the approaches we've seen, we know are dead ends. Boston Dynamics Atlas bot is a fantastic showpiece, but nothing more. They don't intend to produce it with its big bulbous tennis ball hands. I don't know what you'd use it for other than parkour demonstrations. When it comes to these robots, I've seen people saying it's already good enough. Why don't they deploy it in limited use cases? And the answer to me for that is right, but we're so close to having it be useful for 10 times, 100 times, 1,000,000 times more applications. Why roll it out now? There were times in history when you had to do that. The first automobiles were terrible, but they still sold because they were so much better than the alternative. But they weren't going to roll them out until they were at least as good as they could make it this year. There's a whole lot of room for Optimus and other bots like it to grow this year before rolling it out. So do you really want to make thousands, millions of them when they're going to be obsolete before they even take delivery? I don't see the benefit. There The question is, how good is the AI? And we don't know yet. That's an answer we're waiting for. There was a big video that dropped of Optimus folding clothes.
Yeah.
And immediately people said, oh my gosh, this isn't real. There's a human teleoperator. And Elon said, yeah, I mean, that's in the video. You saw the video, you could see the teleoperator. If they were trying to be deceptive, it would have been effortless for them to crop that part down or just not use that completely out. And immediately within 20 minutes, he was on X saying, no, that's teleoperated. We're not showing the AI, we're showing the dexterity. We're showing how smooth the operations are, how closely they can track to the trained data. In this case, the trained data is live teleoperation. And show me another bot system with the kind of dexterity that would allow something as precise as folding clothing. Very delicate and difficult. When you and I get blisters, we don't get to just replace our finger pads. Well, I can't speak for you, I guess. That was presumptive. I apologize. But I think I see a reason it can't happen this year in some kind of numbers.
Yeah, okay. So some kind of numbers, and quite frankly, as many people have said, it doesn't matter a lot, even competitively. Typically, if you're in a competitive race, you want to come out as fast as possible, get as much of your product out there, get your name brand as being the brand that everybody looks to because it was first out there. But in this particular case, when the TAM is unlimited, competition really isn't going to matter for 5 to 10 years. And you know, or do you think differently? Do you think it will matter whether 10 companies come out with this in 2024, or if Tesla is the 11th company to come out with it in 2026? How do you think that works?
So first of all, I think it's adorable that we would consider Tesla as a possible 11th entry in a field like this. That's hilarious. Tesla will be, if not first, they'll be among the first. So, and it doesn't matter. The first mover advantage is great when you've got a very small market with a very limited scope of addressable market. I mean, it matters if you're selling a $30 million combat robot. There will be one contract for that, maybe a second one. But when it comes to something that everybody can buy, that everybody can use, it doesn't matter if you're third, fourth, fifth. If you have the best product and can scale manufacturing, you're going to win. I think it may end up a little more commoditized. That the idea, I've seen some people saying, well, right, but if you just look at, a million bots a year at just $10,000 a month at just an 80 PE ratio, we're already at, and I go, those are some very bold assumptions. The applications in which it would be worth 10,000 a month are far from universal. Those would be the edge cases. Those would be the biohazards and the places where it's too dangerous for a human. Most applications aren't realistically worth 10,000 a month. And if they are, your competition will rent it for 9,000 or 8 or 5,000 because it's not going to cost 100,000 per bot to build it. It's going to cost 20, 30, maybe. So we'll see on that, but it's not a lot of atoms in the manufacturing process, and it would be manufactured.
Well, quickly. Let me clap back at you on that one. So if we have a bot that can do, some people are saying it can't do a full 4 shifts, and or that there will be companies that don't even have 4 shifts. Maybe they only have 2 shifts. But in the beginning, as we just described, I'm going to pick a number right out of the air, right there. I'm going to say that there are 3 million factory and distribution center jobs, not counting fast food, which would be another maybe similar number, not counting hospitals, which might be another similar number. But there's a 3, 4, 5, 10, I don't know, million opportunities out there that are at least 3 to 4 shifts and probably, 24, have to operate 24/7. And if you have a bot that can work 24/7, it replaces roughly 4 employees, but some people say, oh, well, we'll take 3. 3.5 was, I think, maybe what somebody said the other day. But whatever the number is, let's call it somewhere between 3 and 4. The bidding for the first robots will be highest among those that have the best use case, whether that's
Of course.
danger, whether that's undoable, or whether that's the most hours of use per week. So in the first million, the first 2 million, the first 3 million bots, the bidding will be, I can use this bot 24/7. Therefore, I'm willing to pay 5,000, 10,000 a month, 12,000 a month, 15,000 a month. And if somebody takes it at 5,000 a month, says, okay, I'm going to offer you 5,000, I'm sorry, I'm going to offer my robot for 5,000 a month, and it'll do just as good a work as the $10,000 robot. The person that gets the $5,000 robot, even if they were going to put it in their own factory, would be an idiot if they didn't rent it out to somebody down the street that says, I'll pay 10,000 a month for that. Just like the cars, you have the middleman problem, the flipper.
Right. Well, then why don't cars cost 10,000 a month? Because cars are, it's worth it. Surely it's worth it. We'll see. We'll see. It's unknown and unknowable today, but we'll see. We'll get answers in our lifetimes, Randy. Yes, even yours.
Even mine. There you go. Well, I did, I got a new heart 2 years ago. So I'm now partially robot. I think, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe it was all biological, not a new actual heart, but I got a heart upgrade. It wasn't over the air, unfortunately. It took a lot. You want to see the scar? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Probably.
Oh, darn. Well, we'll save that for after hours. When you said you had a new heart, I just always assumed you meant in a jar.
Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. I got a lifetime. They also gave me a lifetime warranty on this heart. Did you know that?
That's the exact amount of time you need it for.
Somehow. Yeah. Yeah.
I
could outlive you with this work that they did. Anyway, back to bots for a minute. Who do you think? I suggested that Tesla should that they should go reach out. Yes, they're going to put them in their own factories. Yes, they're going to give them to their first tier supply, somehow work a deal with their first tier suppliers to start testing them out. But I thought, you know what? They've got this PepsiCo, alignment already. That'd be a good place to also put them. And then I thought In-N-Out Burgers. I thought they should go to In-N-Out. These guys are top. There's nobody that runs a business any better than In-N-Out. I have seen it my son worked for them for several years. I've watched how they operate. They count everything. I mean, it's unbelievable how efficient they are. So I could imagine them being like, if you've got something that's this close to human, we'd love to see if it can flip hamburgers. So those would be my first 2 candidates. What do you think?
It's going to depend on the pace. Can they actually move at a human hustle pace? And early ones won't. They can't. We've seen it already walks pretty slow. And you've worked, I'm sure, in a kitchen, or at least seen how chaotic a kitchen pace can get. I think they would be desperately too slow for a place like that. I think they could work. I think a better restaurant for them to work in would be the new diner in Santa Monica, the drive-in.
In Hollywood.
Is that where it is?
Hollywood. Yeah.
It's Tesla will have their own diner. I think if they had Optimus waiters and Optimus cooks, and the whole kitchen wall was a window so you could watch them work, oh my goodness, hold on to your butts, because that would be a demo that would inspire the next generation of writers and artists to think differently about the world.
Yes, indeed. And you're one of those. So have you started writing any poetry about Optimus yet?
Yes, but it's mostly Vogon poetry, so it's very, very bad.
I see. Well, you could have Grok help you out if it's that bad.
Oh, I think Grok could help me make it worse. That's a good idea.
All right, so let's see if we've accomplished anything here in our
Oh,
brief time together. So would you be willing to agree? First of all, you've agreed that something will happen this year. There will be some robots in some factories somewhere doing actual work. It might be 3, it might be 103, it might be 1,003, but there'll be some. No, you're not agreeing with that.
no, I
No.
don't
Oh,
agree with that. It's possible, but I don't agree that it's a done deal. I think they may be holding back until it's truly ready. There isn't the same kind of urgency to this project that there was in something like ramping the Model 3 or Y or a lot of the things Tesla has done. They can afford to take an extra minute and get this closer to perfect.
okay, wait a minute.
Right.
Let me make sure that we're on the same page here, that I'm asking a question using the right word so that we're not confusing me or the audience, because we couldn't possibly be confusing you. So it is, the question is, will there be, these could be, these are not production units. These are pre-production. These are pilot line. Are they all hand built? Will there be, even if there's 1,000 hand built, between all 12 competitors or whatever, will there be some reasonably sizable, let's call it at least 200 or 300, 400 robots from these different folks that are placed in a actual factory position so they can be tested and see how they do?
So testing is to me a different question. You could
Okay.
do that. That could already be underway.
Okay.
But will they have replaced a job, or does it have to have an engineer standing over its shoulder? At that point, you're actually losing money, and that makes sense because you're testing. But will they in 2024 be actually doing a job that otherwise would have gone to a human, replacing that wage with the cost of a bot? Will that definitely happen this year? I don't say definitely. I say possibly. And in the hundreds, I think it's less likely.
Okay. And then in 2020, now, so the furthest out number I keep hearing is 2027 for full ramp.
Mm.
If you were just going to go into the future, because we know that you spend a lot of time there, your children
do.
miss you at times because, you go and see them when they're grown and,
Yeah.
having their own grandchildren and stuff, which is nice. I'm so glad for you to see that, because most of us don't. Anyway, 2027 worst case, or 2026 worst case? I don't, what do you think?
I think a full ramp is also kind of a tough word to define, because that could be, I think a full ramp will take 10 years because the numbers are going to just keep going and going and going.
Oh,
Once it's out, I mean, is 100,000 a full ramp? I don't
sure.
think it
Let's call it
is.
100. Well, let's call it,
Sure.
let's change
Sure.
it. Will they be making
Let's
100,000 a year in 2027, or do you think it will be much sooner than that they make 100,000 a year?
I can't say that it'll be much sooner, because we don't know until they flip on the switch. We just don't know. And we don't know when that's going to happen. I know, looking at a lot of their competitors, they're going to struggle to get to 100,000 because they don't have factories or experience with scale production. Great. You found a way to build dozens. That's, you need, if there's an assembly line building these, the output rate is going to be nutty. And because they're small, they're compact.
Yeah.
You think back to something like the HP inkjet printers when those first came out. It was something crazy like $150 or $200 for a printer of a quality and speed that hadn't been seen before. And as fast as they could build them, they could sell them, and they ramped production very efficiently because they're small and you can do that.
Right.
So I think the bot may be like that. But in that regard, no reason to rush. Obviously, what they have today could already be out doing various demos, but why? We're too focused on the goal to stop now and try and commercialize a half-finished product. And we
Okay.
don't know how tough the March of Nines is going to be. Because when you say this can't kill people the way a car can, I'd argue it can, especially if it's in a kitchen. It could start a fire. It could
Mm.
knock over a candle. It could bump someone into danger. So there are still very serious risks, even of something that moves very slowly.
So my last question for you, Brian, there's a lot of folks, as you started our conversation today, you were talking about how we all are very personal about what we think this bot may do. And so a lot of people say they want it to fold their clothes, do their ironing, do their, all these different applications, cook their food. I've always said I really want it to be my massage therapist because, my wife she's, it hurts her hands to massage my back. So if I could, it'd be so much better than those fancy chairs to come in because you could tell it slightly to the right, higher, deeper, use a different technique, oh yeah, the thumbs, that feels good. I mean, you could do all that. Have you thought about your best use case if you had a personal one?
The first thing I would ask it to do is try and erase that memory of that image that you just put in my head. And I think it would do that with a club. Uh, yeah, it may hurt her hands, but picturing it hurts my brain. So I think, what use case would I have for it? Gardening, taking out the trash, chores, things around my world. People say, well, if old cars don't have autonomy, why couldn't Optimus drive old cars, especially old farm equipment or items around the dock? I think one of the best use cases for it could be loading car carrier ships. They've got a little swarm of workers who drive the cars in, pack into a little SUV and drive out. You know how many Optimus bots you could fit inside a little Optimus carrier?
Yeah.
50 that would still fit inside that car carrier. So they go in, they drive to the exact pinpoint location, they secure the straps, take a picture to audit with all the, scan it so that they know at 2:36 p.m. it secured with this many pounds of torque in this location, verified. And then hop in the shuttle, 50 of them go back out, they grab the next 50 cars and away they go.
Yeah.
Well, I think that would be a very easy use. And if it's any good at all, great. Let's start using it to load the trucks in Austin or in Fremont. But I think we're going to see that there are still some dexterity issues that can't be overcome, and that it's not going to have human utility in a lot of applications for a while yet to come.
All right. Well, Brian, as always, it has been illuminating, innovating. Is that a good use of the word?
Sure.
Okay. All right. And you should follow Brian because he thinks he's a leader. So follow him. Follow him on MyTeslaWeekend.com. Provide him with revenue on Patreon or on YouTube or on many different places. Go ahead and check out his channel too, as long as you don't reduce the amount that you watch my channel. It's okay. Just double up.
Right. We're
is
expanding the market.
Is that a good commercial for you or not?
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't have a website, but other than that, you nailed it.
Okay. All right. Okay. Did I say you had a website?
You threw a .com in there.
Oh, I see. I must have been,
That's all right.
Yeah. It's a mental, yeah. The heart, when they fixed my heart, they forgot to fix the rest of it. Anyway, it's been great, Brian. We have to let these people go. Thanks so much. And to all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.